Okay, good evening, and welcome to the December 8th, 2020 meeting with Wolfbow Budget Committee. Due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order Number 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. However, the committee has decided to proceed with a hybrid meeting format, allowing for members of the public and board to attend and participate in the meeting in person and virtually. In accordance with RSA 91-A:2-3, the board has 5 members joining the meeting remotely, which public body has the authorization to allow. At this time, I will take a roll call vote of all members present. For those participating virtually, please indicate if you or any other individuals are present with you in the room. Okay, Bob Tuffer?
Yes, John, I'm here, and I'm alone in my work room.
Okay, thank you. Bob Lohman?
Present.
Steve Johnson?
Here.
Matt Planch?
Here.
Bob Mulholland?
Here.
Tom Bell?
Here in home office, alone.
John Burt?
Here, and I've chased all the ladies out of the house, and I'm here alone.
Okay, thank you, John. Brian Black?
I'm here.
And myself, John McDonald. Votes taken during this meeting will be via roll call vote for all members. In accordance with Emergency Order Number 12, for members of the public, this is to confirm that we video or other electronic means to a go-to meeting. All members of the public and board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the go-to meeting platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-571-317-3122, followed by the audio access code 888-209-605, or by video at https://global.join/888-209-605. Providing a public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, we previously gave notice to the public of how to access this meeting in person or using the go-to meeting, and instructions are provided on the Town of Wolfbow website at wolfboronh.us on the virtual town meeting login information page. Providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are any problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or computer, please immediately call 603-486-2692 or email hendrickson.leeann@gmail.com. In the event that the public is unable to access this meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled to a later time. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Tonight we're going to be dealing with agencies' request for funding and also finishing up the Water and Sewer Department. Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything you want to say before we start the meeting?
Just briefly, I believe everybody's aware. However, the tax rate has been set. The tax rate is $13.01, with $5.26 being municipal, $1.11 being county, $4.82 being local education, and $1.82 being state education. Tax bills hopefully will be going out at the end of this week. Also, if you were in attendance at the Board of Selectmen's meeting last Wednesday, you would have heard the audit review from our auditor. So that has been completed. And with that said, Mr. Ford is joining us tonight remotely. And that's all I have for you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Okay, I guess what we'll do, we'll start with agencies, and I'll just go down the list.
John?
Yes, go ahead.
John, Bob Tuffer here. I did not hear you mention the Libby Museum. Are they on the calendar tonight?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're also going to do the Libby tonight. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
Okay, is there anybody here for the Wolfeboro Area Child Center? Anybody online? Wolfeboro Area Child Center.
Yes. Yes, John, can you hear me? This is Carrie Ann Cox.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to come back and talk with this committee. As representative of the Children's Center here on Main Street, as you know, I'm the executive director here, and we are essentially one of the primary child care facilities open during this time. We did receive our emergency child care program status from the state, so we will remain open as we have been through the pandemic with that status to ensure that even if there is any more pullback or stay-at-home orders, that we will be able to provide services to our working families, particularly those of essential workers. As I outlined in my August letter, I am requesting still level funding, given the hardships that we're seeing with our families and frankly, the fact that we'll be losing about $100,000 this year as we continue to stay open, given the health and safety requirements, the PPE, and all the costs that we are currently incurring to ensure that our staff and the children are safe here at the center. But we are committed to supporting the ecosystem, if you will, of the community, and would very much appreciate your consideration of level funding of $10,000 to the Children's Center in the next year. Are there any questions? I believe you should have all been in receipt of our financial position and our budget, as well as the request dated August 13th.
Does anyone have any questions for the Wolfeboro Area Child Center? And once again, the request is level funding of $10,000 from the same as last year. And thank you guys over there for your hard work at the center. I know a lot of families appreciate it.
John?
Yeah.
I have a comment to make here. This was one of the finest presentations. It was to the point and educational, and I appreciate it that well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, let's go to Community Action Program.
Hello, I'm Amy Goyette, and I'm from Tri-County Community Action. I am the Strategic Initiatives and Projects Supervisor, and I want to thank you for allowing me to come and share with you the services that are provided in your area. As you know, Tri-County Community Action offers several services, and many of them are utilized, and this year we are making one request. Rather than individual programs, we're making it as an agency request. The services that we provide in the area are for fuel assistance and assistance. We also have, in last years, we've served 4 homeless in our homeless shelters. We also have 2 clients that utilize the guardianship program, and we also have transportation. A couple other areas that we serve also is the Life Ministries Food Pantry. We've been fortunate to be able to be part of ensuring 3,501 cases of food for the pantry, valued at roughly $197,000. $97,000. We also have a dental center in Tamworth where 4% of our patients come from Wolfeboro. We're always so delighted to be able to collaborate and work together in serving in your area. and I'm proud of being able to do that. We're looking at, if you looked at all the services and put a value to all of them, it equates to over $250,000. This year, we are asking for $14,100.
Okay, the Board of Selectmen only approved you for $9,000. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
I also see that you, I guess you got together with Carroll County Transit. You're now one group, or what, how is that working out now?
Oh, that's right, and I apologize, that's true. We are all one agency, and the transit is part of CAP, yes.
Are you aware of how much money the town gave Carroll County Transit last year? Do you know what the figure is?
I could get that for you. For transit alone, I'm not sure. I can pull that up. It would take me a minute.
Mr. Chairman, it was 4,000. The Board of Selectmen, when we merged the two, the Board of Selectmen brought it back to an even level of last year.
I just heard from the town manager, and I guess what the Board of Selectmen did is they added the $4,000 to your previous year's request of $5,000 for a total of $9,000.
Okay.
Is there some dire reason that you need the $14,000 to meet the $14,000?
Well, what we've done this year is we, as an agency, we looked at how we've been asking for funding, and we've done it as individual programs without really a formula in place. And it was what you always gave many of the towns. And so the programs, if you gave 4,000, we would ask for level funding for 4,000. And so we looked as an agency with all the services we provided, and we put a formula into place based on population. And so by doing that, that is how it equated to the 14.1, is because of the population based on our formula for Carroll County.
What other funding do you get? What other communities give funding to you?
What other towns?
Yeah.
Oh, most all of the towns in Carroll County support us. There's very, very few that don't.
Okay.
In Coos County and in Grafton County as well, most all of the towns in our area, service area, do provide some support.
Okay, thank you. Bob Lohman?
John, in the backup, there's a table that outlines the contributions for each of the towns in Carroll County. There's a table there, and I would like to talk to that a little bit, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
I have a problem with the way the formula is done on a per population basis, because in going through the backup information that Tri-County supplied to us, I was looking at the program statistics, and Wolfboro's costs in that program statistics amount to something of 3.8%. And if you look at the 14,100 that they're asking for in the total of 107,175, it's 13.16% based on population. So there's a discrepancy between the population calculation and the services that are rendered to Wolfboro specifically. So I did a few calculations, and I subtracted out the changed the number of the 14,000, the 107,175 total, taking out the $9,000 that we're talking about, and brought it down to 198,175. Basically, what it all works out to is the 3.8% of that adjusted Carroll County total comes out to $7,530.65. And I would make a motion to make that $7,530.65 the 2021 Budget Committee number.
Mr. Loma, can I just get that number one more time from you?
$7,530.65.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. And let's have a discussion about that.
I couldn't hear his reasonings, how he came up with that.
Bob, can you just speak a little louder about how you came up with that figure?
Yes. In the backup, the Tri-County Community Action Program gave us, there is a table in the back it's the Carroll County, all the towns in Carroll County, population, requests for a resident, and annual requests. And there's a multiplier in there that says 2.25 times the 6,269 people in Wolfeboro, which comes up to the 14,100 that they're requesting. Now, it has been reduced to $9,000 by our Board of Selectmen, which reduces that total of $107,175 down to $198,175. If you take 3.8%, which is by their own numbers in the back, in that same backup on the prior page of program statistics, our part of the expenses or services rendered in Wolfeboro, 3.8% of that total on the program statistics page. Therefore, what I am saying is if Wolfeboro's impact, if you will, on the cost of operation of the Tri-County Action Program are 3.8%, then that 3.8% should be the consideration not by population, but actually by activity. And so the 3.8% of that changed number, reduced number of 198,175 would come out to $7,530.65. I based my calculation on services rendered to the town, this town.
What about how do you figure in the bus service there?
I'm sorry, I didn't
The
hear.
Carroll County Transit bus service, that's also included in this budget. How do you figure that as? How much do you give credit for that as?
Well, what I did, John, and it may be in some explanation may come from Tri-County, but I used their program statistics page that is part of the backup, added up the total, and it came out to $2,781,845, of which Wolfboro was $106,160, which is 3.8% of the total services on that program statistics page. That's how I arrived at the 3.8%.
Okay.
Now, I can't speak to whether it includes the transit, because this back page is not divided up enough to where I can tell, and if that is, then I'd be glad to adjust my number.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I'm using this 3.8% because of the fact that it is the percentage that I see on the program statistics line. It's the percentage of services rendered to Wolfeboro as opposed to the total Carroll County program statistics number of 2.781845.
Could I ask somebody from CAP to address that issue?
From Tri-County?
Yes, please.
Yes, so the bus trips are on that stat sheet, and they are valued at $45,457. And so I don't know if that was included in your figures, but I think what I would like to speak to mostly is, one of the things is, when we decided to do it just by population versus including services as part of that formula, the purpose of it is we are available to serve all of the citizens of Wolfboro as needed. Like this year, for example, with the effects of the COVID-19, we didn't shut down for one moment of one day, and we will continue to provide all the services continually through that. And so it's hard to monitor just on services because we make our services available at all times for all citizens. And we get federal funded on many grants and different things in order for us to continue the multiple services that we provide. And in order to get some of these grants, we need to have a match. And that's why we reach out to the individual towns for a portion, a small portion in comparison to the value of the services provided. And so I understand what you're saying and the figures that you're speaking and how you would like to equate that. But I'd like to speak on behalf of the services available. If we are not funded and we don't have those match funds, all the services go away. And these services are essential. I mean, you're looking at not only transportation, but the fuel assistance and the electrical assistance, guardianship, dental center. We provide hygiene in the schools for the children. We provided hygiene kits for all of the children this year because they weren't able to be in school at the end of the year. And when they got their hot lunches, we also had those hygiene kits handed out. So I guess I can only speak in behalf of what we offer, and it's a wealth of services that I am sure are much appreciated by the individuals receiving them at any time, and they're available for anyone that qualifies.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions?
John McDonald.
Yes, sir.
Looking at their backup, I see Community Action serviced 115 customers in Wolfboro with fuel assistance for a total value of $97,984. They offered assistance to 2 Wolfboro customers for electric assistance for a total of $1,489. In Wolfboro, they offered or completed 1,264 trips for a total of $45,457. And there's another one, homeless intervention and prevention, 4 clients, $1,140. I can see level funding this organization at the $9,000 they've been taking, or that they've received for a number of years. I don't know if I want to drop it down to the 7,000 number. I think I would vote against that.
Okay, any other discussion before I call the question?
Sure, John?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it looks like they're doing some great work. Clearly, they're doing some really important work here in northern New Hampshire. And the federal government agrees. It looks like they're getting $13.4 million from the federal government, almost $1.9 million in state revenue. There are other sources of revenues totaling millions of dollars. It looks like there's more than a $20 million budget. My thinking is that we should be supporting local needs, and clearly there's a local service here, but but our citizens are paying for this through federal taxes and state taxes already. So I don't have a problem lowering the amount to the 9,000 or even lower. I think we should focus on more, when we do this, I don't know that we should be providing money to organizations that have a $20 million budget. Clearly, the 14,000 or the 10,000 or the 9,000 isn't going to make that much difference to them, but it will make a lot of difference to some other groups. It looks like there's a $475,000 surplus projected, so I don't think this is going to be a big problem for them, but I don't know. I'm just looking at the numbers on this sheet, so.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, John, I have a comment. I support Bob's math.
Can you just bring the mic a little bit closer, Steve? Thank you.
Sure. I think Bob's math is correct, and if we're a budget committee looking at from a math perspective, it is good. That's one point. Point number two is their total revenue is $20.5 million, of which $8 million is just on payroll and benefits. So I'm going to call payroll and benefits the same thing. That seems like a high ratio to me versus the people that are getting the help. Just a comment, and I want to make people aware of that.
Thank you, Steve. Any other comments? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. The motion is to reduce Community Action Program line 830 to $7,530.65. That'll be a roll call vote. Bob Tuffer?
No.
Bob Loman?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Planch?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
No.
Tom Bell?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black?
No.
And I vote no. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion passes. That line item now is $7,530.65. Okay, that's it on committee action. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. And the next one will be Life Ministries.
Yeah, good evening, and Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, my name's Mike Turner. I'm the president of the Life Ministries Food Pantry. As you know, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization established about 35 years ago, and we're governed by a 22-member board of directors as well as 50 active volunteers. Our current mission is to provide 10 meals per week for each family member who qualifies. We distributed over 198,000 meals in 2019, which was approximately a 2% increase over 2018. And so far in 2020, we've distributed over 190,000 meals. 32% of our total clients in 2020 so far are from Wolfeboro. The number of Wolfeboro individuals that are currently being served are 270 people. That's comprised of 97 children and 68 individuals over the age of 68 years of age, over 60 years of age. So we distributed 36,000 meals to Wolfeboro residents through August of this year, compared to 32,000 meals through August of 2019. So our annual food budget for 2020 is $147,400, and we've been fortunate to have received excellent monetary support from our community as well as various foundations during this pandemic. The New Hampshire Food Bank continues to provide us with food supplies at low cost. But we've had to go out and buy more and more food from local merchants to try to complete and continue to get nutritious food to our clients. So we know that the financial stress placed upon us as well as the town of Wolfeboro due to the coronavirus has been significant. We asked the same funding as we received last year, that is $15,000, which is only 10% of our total food budget, even though 32% of our clients are from Wolfeboro, which is a 2% increase over 2019, and an 11% increase in the number of meals served to Wolfeboro residents this year. I want to thank you for the opportunity for funding us in prior years. Our clients, our board, and our volunteers greatly appreciate your help. Thank you.
And thank you and your group for your hard work in the community. Okay, any questions for Life Ministries? They're requesting $15,000. Seeing none, we'll move on. Is there someone here from Starting Point?
Yes. Hi there. My name is Rita Stoddard. I'm representing Starting Point this evening. Starting Point provides crisis intervention 24/7, 365 days a year to victims of domestic and sexual violence, stalking, and human trafficking, and to their children. We have a shelter with a capacity for 13, which is always full. We also provide emergency housing or shelter for victims who are in imminent danger. And I'll just say that in the same quarter last year, we had 1,000 bed nights, and this year with the pandemic, we went up to 3,000 bed nights for those needs. We also respond to our local police for LAP calls, lethal assessment calls, and to our hospitals 24/7 when they have a victim that presents there. I'll just say that we did not skip a beat during the pandemic. We've been dealing with the pandemic of domestic violence for many, many years, and we were able to take this pandemic in stride and kept our doors open, our shelter open. As I said, our bed nights went up significantly as we provided emergency shelter for victims and their children. Staff continued to provide direct services to the court, to the police, to the hospitals, and to all of our clients. We are asking this year for $4,274. We provided over 200 services to individuals in Wolfeboro. And I will just say that we have seen a significant uptick in, as I said, our services and calls, and we expect to see that going forward for quite some time. So we're very appreciative of your support in the past and hope that you will see clear to support us again this year.
Do you have any questions for Starting Point? Seeing none, thank you for coming in. Appreciate your work you do within the community also. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, let me see who's next. Kingswood Youth Center, please. Kingswood Youth Center. Certainly.
No, you need, if you can use that microphone over there, it'd be greatly appreciated. I don't think it'll reach.
You can sit here.
Okay, that's what I'll do. Thank you. Thanks, and please just let me know if you're having trouble hearing me. Good evening, awesome to be here. I am Zachary Porter. I'm the Executive Director at Kingswood Youth Center. We're here in Wolfeboro as of last May. We've been here in Wolfeboro for 20 years, and this year especially, it's just such a privilege to be able to serve teens here in Wolfeboro during these hard times. So we offer free out-of-school programs for 7th through 12th grade students in the Governor Wentworth Regional School District. We have 4 major programs. We offer our after-school program daily. We offer BTAS programs. Those are beyond the after-school programs, evenings, weekends, and school vacations. We offer summer programs, and then Club 121, which is our one-to-one mentoring, adult staff mentoring middle school mentees. All these programs are free. Programs include a free hot meal. Amidst the pandemic, our mission to provide safe, positive programs that help students develop life skills to ensure their success in the adult world, it's become more important than ever. So during the spring shutdown, we took a number of measures to be there for our teens and our families. We offered a full schedule of remote programs that included video conferencing, call-in hours, engaging them through contests hosted online, take-home activities which were offered to families. One of our proudest programs from those months of shutdown was our care packages distribution program. Each week, we distributed household essentials, fresh food, groceries, pantry items in care packages weighing approximately 50 pounds to local families. Each week, we distributed to roughly 20 to 30 families, and in total, from March until June, we were able to distribute 16,500 pounds of essentials through that program. In July, we reopened in-person programs under the state of New Hampshire's day camp guidance. We carried that right into the school year, and we are open for in-person programs. New protocols have made our programs safe, helpful, but also just as valuable as ever before, if not more so. We are offering more hours with the kids, more hours of service than ever before, and because groups need to be smaller, we are offering deeper and more intensive services. In addition to our in-person programs, we still offer virtual programs in order to reach more students, in order to reach students who can't be with us in person, and in order to connect students at different times. We, as the Care Packages program, really showed us a need we were able to fulfill in distributing food and essentials and connecting with families and teens that way. So from that, we developed a new resource, the KYC Covered. It is our own free thrift store. We also have a free thrift store, our own free food pantry. So it's groceries that are available daily to families to come in person, and they can utilize those food resources. Roughly 80% of our participants qualify for free or reduced lunch, and it's astounding and really troubling the extent to which some of these folks have been impacted by the COVID pandemic. So the opportunity to help in this really, really meaningful way is really important to us. Through this program, we were able to distribute Thanksgiving care packages. 32 different high school and middle school students benefited from these care packages. They included a frozen turkey, fresh produce, pantry items, and treats. So that was a way to make an atypical Thanksgiving easier and hopefully a lot brighter for those the families of those 32 individuals. We received funding from 4 towns in total on a year-to-year basis. They include Wolfeboro, Ossipee, Tuftonboro, and New Durham. The total is $14,500 from towns. We have requested level funding from each of those towns, and we are also requesting consideration from the town of Wolfeboro for level funding in the amount of $5,000. And I'm more than happy to address any questions about our programs or that request.
Yeah, I have a question for you. On your 2020-2021 operating budget, you have expenses listed here, and then including auto, building, janitorial, payroll, and so on, general, and you come up with $26,000 administrative, and then is in programming because I'm looking at your budget versus your actual on the functional expenses, and they're off a little bit. And I'm just wondering, is your 177 what you'd hoped it to be, and it turns out your 195,000 is more what it's going to look like?
So I believe the budget to actual was that for last fiscal year? And forgive me for not remembering.
I'm assuming, yeah. It says 2020 to 2021, and this is year ended, oh, this is from June 2019.
Yes, so the answer to that question is we have proposed a smaller budget for this year. So we've proposed an operating budget of $177,000 down from 190 last year. And being realistic in terms of funding, availability of funding, and tightening our belts a little in terms of efficiencies, we were being a little more conservative this year.
Thank you. Any other questions for the Kingswood Youth Center? Seeing none and hearing none, I'll thank you, and thanks for the work you do in the community.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. Northern Human Services.
Good evening. My name is Melita Saratelli. Can you all hear me? I hope. Good. So I'm the Director of Behavioral Health for Carroll County at Northern Human Services. We are a nonprofit community mental health center that offers a range of mental health services to the communities in Northern New Hampshire. We have an office on Bay Street in Wolfeboro, and we are requesting level funding to be used to offset the cost of providing services to Wolfeboro residents who are either uninsured or underinsured. During this past year with COVID, we maintained all of our services. We switched mainly to mental health, but we were still seeing some clients in the office, depending on whether or not it was absolutely necessary. We have seen a rise in our intakes, a rise in pretty much all of our services due to the pandemic. We were lucky enough to hire 2 new clinicians in the Wolfboro office so that we can serve more clients in Wolfboro and get our wait list down for that office. So we're very excited for them to come on. And we appreciate the support that Wolfboro has given us throughout the years. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, just got a question for you. Last year, you approved for $3,700. This year, request is $7,779, which is a 110% increase in your funding. So it's really not level funding from last year, because last year you only got $3,700.
I apologize. I actually don't have my thing in front of me. I've been quarantining for the past week, so I haven't been able to get to my office to get the actual numbers for Wolfboro, so I do apologize for that. The reason for the increase would be because the amount of services that we're providing has been increasing. In Wolfboro in 2019, I believe we saw roughly 185 clients. A lot of the clients in the Wolfboro area do not, for some reason, qualify for Medicaid. So we have been providing services to a lot more residents that are uninsured or underinsured. And we do offer sliding fee scale payments to those clients. Unfortunately, some of them can't quite afford that, and we haven't denied anybody services.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Northern Human Services?
Yes. John?
Go ahead.
I would
recommend or make a motion that we
take the level funding aspect, and budget committee number should be $3,700 as it was last year.
Okay, so there's a motion to level fund of $3,700. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. And now we'll have a little discussion. You want to say something about your motion, Bob? Or
Say again, John?
do you want to talk a little bit about your motion, the reason?
Well, my rationale is that the letter we received from them was for level funding. And I'm just saying, let's level fund it at $3,700. If there's a reason why we shouldn't that convinces me I'm wrong, then I'm welcome to listen to it.
Yes, sir.
Wasn't your argument for the Tri-County reduction based on usage? And yet she's using recent usage for Northern Human Services as a justification for the increase.
I'm not sure. I don't understand. I don't understand your response. Brian, restate it, if you would.
She's, if I didn't hear her correctly, I apologize, but my understanding is that she's justifying that increased request based on Wolfeboro area usage. Am I correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
All right. And my point is that when you made the motion to reduce the funding for the Tri-County program, that was because of their statistics showed a lower usage.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to justify in my mind that, you know.
Okay, then let me ask the person from Northern Human Services. How much of the dollars of the Carroll County expenditures are Wolfboro? What percentage?
Well, I guess unfortunately I can't answer that right now because I have not been announced throughout the paperwork. I do not have a company because I have quarantine capacity. So I can't fully answer that right now. I can definitely get that answer tomorrow. I know it doesn't help right now, which I apologize.
John. I think I can help.
Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead, Bob. Last year, they didn't show up. We cut it. That's why it's where it is. So it is level funded. The only reason it's where it is because nobody showed up last year to speak to it, and we cut it. We cut it in half.
Bob Mulholland is correct. The request last year was 449, and there was no representative present. And we had a second meeting, and they did not appear for the second meeting as well. And so the Budget Committee cut it to 3,700. The agency is now requesting the 7,449 as they requested last year, and that would be level funded. Well, wasn't level funded because you funded it at 37, but the request is.
I remember that course of events.
And now there's a representative present today.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, John, Bob Tuffer here.
Yes, Bob.
As I recall, the particular evening we had that meeting where the agencies came in, it was a very snowy night, and the former representative of Northern Human Services happened to live up in Colas County, as I recall. And in normal weather, it was usually about a 2-hour trip for her to get to the Great Hall. And but as I recall, the prior 10 years, the amount has been pretty steady at about $74.50, and never went up. And after that snowy night, I believe the town manager's office tried to play some phone tag with them, and unfortunately, we never hooked up. And that's pretty much what happened with that. So for, I would say, the last 9 out of 10 years, they've been up around 74.49, and unfortunately, we couldn't touch base with them last year. That's it.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else?
Yes, John, this is John Burt. The average 74.49. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Go ahead, John.
The 5-year average is 74.49.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Everyone else have any questions or want to share anything before we vote? Okay, this will be a roll call vote. The motion is to reduce Northern Human Services to, let me see here, $3,700. Bob Tuffer.
No.
Bob Lohman.
Yes.
Steve Johnson.
Yes.
Matt Planch.
Yes.
Bob Mulholland.
No.
Tom Bell.
Yes.
John Burt.
No.
Brian Black.
No.
And John McDonald votes no. Motion fails. Any other questions for the representative from Northern Human Services? So right now the number stays at $7,779. Thank you also, folks, for all the work you do in the community.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, move on to senior meals. Request for $25,000. Anyone here from Senior Mills?
I'm here, John.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. So, I think you got my letter where I withdrew the request. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I did present to the Wolfeboro Selectmen, and at the time, we were still going to try to run our program to go, but it just didn't work out that way for us. We have one paid cook, and she was going to need to leave New England twice, and then our volunteers are all seniors, so we just decided to hold off with COVID on the program for now and see where 2021 takes us. But we still have funds left from not being able to run the program, so we have withdrawn our request for this year.
Okay, so basically due to the pandemic, you folks aren't going to do anything or cut back this year?
Yeah, we use the space in All Saints Church, and they're not open to the public at this time.
Okay. Any questions about senior meals? It appears they're not going to request any funding for the 2021 season or the year because of the pandemic and some other issues.
Hey, Amy, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you think there's a vaccine that they say is in the pipeline that'll be widely distributed within 6 months? If that were to be true, say June or July, do you have enough funds to carry it through the rest of next year?
I do. We don't, typically we don't use the church in the summer months because they have other needs that they use it for. So we usually end the program just before Memorial Day. If we are able to do something later on next year, even if we do something in the summer somewhere else spaced out, we have enough funds to do something.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you, Amy, and thanks to all your members for what they do in the community. You folks have the meals at the church, right, in the afternoon? Is that where?
Yeah, they were Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at All Saints Church.
I know a lot of folks enjoy that. Miss it.
I know, and our mission really is for the socialization piece, and I feel really bad. I mean, that's the big problem with this whole pandemic too, the isolation. But I just don't have the answer of how we can get them together right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for taking your time to speak with us tonight. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hey, John.
Okay. Yes, Bob.
I would just ask John Bird to please shut his microphone off. Can you mute your mic? Thank you. No, thank you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, let's
Okay, let's go to caregivers of the Wolfeboro area.
Caregivers of Wolfboro area. Someone here, please?
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we've got a
Okay,
request.
I'm Bob.
Got a request?
Yes, we're requesting level,
Okay.
correct. Okay, so can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, I'm Barbara Hunt. I'm the treasurer for the Caregivers Group. We're a 501c3 organization who, for 33 years, we've been providing transportation to medical-related services for clients for both local and out-of-town appointments. And out-of-town may include Dartmouth, Concord, Manchester, even Portland, Maine. We have, everybody in our organization is a volunteer. We have no salaries, no overhead. Our largest expense is our reimbursement to our volunteer drivers. They get 45 cents a mile only for trips of 50 miles or more. One of the differences with our group is we provide door-to-door service for people, and there is no charge to any of our clients for our services. We don't do any fundraising. All of our funding comes from the 4 towns we serve, which, other than Wolfboro, includes Alton, Tuftonboro, and Ossipee, for a total of $11,500. That covers about half of our expenses. The other half comes from donations from individuals, local churches, and some service organizations. Our services for Wolfboro residents generally account for about half of the services that we provide each year. The need for our services has been increasing every year. We basically operated on a break-even point every year until 2019, when because of the increase in the need, we actually ran a deficit for the first time. And that was continuing to be true into this year. However, because of COVID and because most of our volunteer drivers are older, we did suspend services at one point for the safety of both our drivers and our clients. Our board continued to meet every month over Zoom to monitor the situation. And as soon as we decided it was safe to do so, we did resume services again, following all the guidelines of the state and CDC. We provided personal protection equipment to our drivers and our clients with written guidelines that were to be followed. However, because of the surge, we did decide recently again that we needed to suspend services, with the exception that we are continuing to provide services for emergency situations, which basically covers people who have regular chemotherapy appointments that they need to get to. And we do have drivers who are willing to keep driving those people, because people in Wolfboro are wonderful about volunteering for things. And I know some of those clients are in Wolfboro, so we are continuing to serve them. We're continuing to monitor the situation. And we'll decide at what point we can continue or go back to having full services. Where, as I said, we are just requesting level funding of $4,500 for next year. And I think that's it. We do appreciate all the past support from the town, and hope that that will continue to be the case, because our service does help keep older people in their homes, particularly with the services that we can provide. So, does anybody have any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Seeing none or hearing none, thank you for coming, and I appreciate your work in the community.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for all the time that you all put in.
Okay, do we have someone here from the dinner bell?
Yes. This is Bill Peterson. I serve as the rector at All Saints Church, and All Saints Church serves as the fiscal agent and nonprofit sponsor for our community meal program called Dinner Bell. And we've been doing that for the community. We took it over about 6 years ago. We're requesting level funding at $6,000, which is a little bit more than half of our overall budget. Our paid chef works with more than 24 volunteers to provide meals on a weekly basis every Thursday evening between Labor Day and the beginning of June. We do occasional programs during the summer months to keep folks connected with one another. And we really are feeding both people physically and relationally. So we have a lot of folks that this is their time to connect with neighbors here in town. We pivoted during the pandemic and have been doing to-go meals, socially distanced and from our parking lot. And also this fall of note, the annual Benson Family Thanksgiving meal did not happen this year, in part because of the pandemic and in part because of the death of Sue Benson. And so we did Thanksgiving meals to go in place of that particular program. And we thank you for your support in the past, and we look forward to reopening as soon as it is safe in person, and we'll continue our Meals to Go program. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, does anyone have any questions from the representative from Dinner Bell? Your request is for $6,000. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on, and thank you folks for the hard work you do in the community also.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is CASA. Anybody from CASA? I found this kind of interesting. If you want to, in this backup, it kind of lists all the towns that give to this program. And I'm pretty surprised that we're up there with Manchester gives 13,000 and we give 1,000, and they probably get 15 or 20 times the population that Wolfbow has. And I was trying to find other communities that were similar to us in the list as far as population.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could we ask John Burton
what the five-year averages, please?
It's going to be $1,000, I think. $1,000, I believe.
About $700.
700?
700, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
The, again, looking through the backup, I wish someone was here, but it really doesn't say what services that they provided to the Wolfbow residents.
John, can we ask them to provide some backup information so we can consider it at a later date?
Well, we've got to start moving on things, John, and I think they were notified. They've been notified to be here.
They were notified to be here. I can do whatever your pleasure is. If you'd like for me to re-invite them to another meeting, it's your discretion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know this is going to sound strange coming from me, but seeing as how we've been supporting this thing for the last 5 years at $1,000 level, the last 3 years at least according to me, and the backup that I looked at the same and maybe possibly had the same questions you did about participation as far as Wolfbow is concerned. But having said that, it seems to me that seeing as how it's been level funded for 3 years, I would recommend that we go forward with this, even in the face of a representative not being here.
Okay. Well, I'll do a motion to reduce CASA to 0 for the 2021 budget. Any seconds? Any seconds to that one? Seeing none, the motion fails.
John?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we level Costa at, level fund Costa at $1,000.
Second.
Okay, discussion? I'm going to vote against that motion. What's that?
Do we need to vote on it?
What's that? It was a motion, yeah. So we'll vote on it. I'm going to vote against it. The reason I'm going to vote against it is I'm going to look at all these lists. And granted, it's only $1,000, but it's $1,000 worth of the taxpayers' money. And there's very few communities compared to all the communities in the state that pony up the money to support this program. And if you look at the financial of the group, I think it was about $2 million they have budgeted. Let me see here. Income, expenses, they have projected for 2630 to 21, $2,957,139. So I just have too many unanswered questions. I'd like to know why all these other communities don't support it, and what exactly the town of Wolfboro citizens get with this funding, even though it's $1,000. Okay, any other comments? Okay, the motion is to fund CASA at $1,000. This will be a roll call vote. Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Okay. Bob Lohman?
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Steve Johnson?
Yes. Yes.
Matt Plash?
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
No.
Tom Bell?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black? And I vote no, and the motion carries. CASA is now funded at $1,000. Okay, let's go on. Carroll County Transit, they're no longer with us. 68 hours of hunger?
That would be me.
Okay.
Susan Weeks, volunteer within 68 hours of hunger. We submitted our numbers for our food costs for the overall service that we provide in the Governor Wentworth Regional School District, as well as the breakout for what we pay for Wolfeboro. These numbers are food costs. They are not labor, they're not transportation, they're not anything else but food cost. All other items are donated mostly by the members donate their own transportation. The school district assists with transporting the foods to the Ossipee School and the Wolfboro schools. The All Saints Church right now is providing us a place to store the food. We try to buy a month's worth at a time to reduce the amount of manual labor, the amount of mileage, time, wear and tear on your car, so forth and so on. So you can see the Wolfboro this past year, it's been an average of 24 students getting weekend meals. The cost of $12 per student works out to, where is that number? Almost $14,000 a year just for the food costs for the Wolfboro students that we serve. And we're asking to be level funded at $4,000 as we got last year. This is, we've been continuing despite the pandemic. The school district transportation system began working with us due to the special needs of the coronavirus. And We've had to adjust our teams, our volunteers, our hours, our methods. They've all changed, even our location. We've been in 4 different locations this past year due to the coronavirus. And finding an area to store a month's worth of food for all of these kids is not an easy task. All our other expenses are specific donations. And what can I say? What questions might you have?
Anyone have any questions? Our friends from the 68 Hours of Hunger?
I would like to add that, just to make a point that all of these different programs, they take so much money to get them up and running and so much volunteer work that, if each town were doing its own program, it would cost much more money for every town than it does to get these volunteer organizations who serve a regional area. And therefore, the costs get reduced overall.
Any questions for anybody? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, I want to thank you for everything you folks do for the community, and just make sure we've got the right amount, $4,000, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and thank you for coming tonight, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see who's next here. Children Unlimited, Incorporated.
Yes, hello. My name is Barbara Ross. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Okay, good. I'm the director of the Family Connections Resource Center at Children Unlimited. We are the state contracted resource center for the county and provide much service to Wolfboro. We actually, enough so that we subcontract with Shelley Rondo out of VNA to help us out, so she's closer by. We are already working with 18 families this fiscal year, which is up from last year, and there's more need than ever, and that's what I want to say. We're full on during the pandemic. We have been given the contract from Granite United to dole out some COVID funds, so those get spread throughout the county. And they're concrete support, so we can pay direct service for anything from car repairs to gas cards. We're continuing to do home visits. We provide resource and referral, a lot of communication with the schools because families are very distressed, as you must know. And we're worried this year. There's an increase in DCYF reporting, and it's harder to get to some of those kids, so we've really taken that on as much as we can. We've added a program which has been very helpful. It's called the Kinship Program. So we're able to provide funding and supports to relative caregivers, and that's been a wonderful addition. There are a lot of grandparents and relatives taking care of children that don't have access to other supports. So we're continuing on. We so appreciate your support from the past, and we're continuing to work hard. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for the representative from Children Unlimited? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. Thank you very much, and appreciate all you do for the community.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, is there anyone else out there for an agency that I might have missed this evening? I think I've got everyone.
Hey, John.
Hello?
Yes.
This is David Emberley from Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe that we missed VNA Hospice and Meals on Wheels.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sorry
about
that. VNA Hospice, please.
Thank you. Hi, this is David Emberley from Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice. We're a nonprofit agency providing in-home health care to residents of Southern Carroll and Belknap counties. Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice is requesting level funding in the amount of $22,000 from the town of Wolfeboro. These funds requested are to support 3 types of programs and services. First, to provide hospice and palliative care services that are not reimbursed by third-party payers, such as adult and childhood bereavement support, volunteer training and placement, and spiritual counseling. Second, to provide support for the pediatric care management and maternal child health programs, which offer services to families with young children in this community who are considered to be socially or medically at risk. And third, to provide support for general home care services for those who have inadequate or no health insurance coverage. During our last fiscal year, the agency provided 7,254 visits to the residents of the town of Wolfeboro. The amount of charity and uncompensated care totaled $59,113. This year, during the pandemic, our agency has continued to offer all the services. Also, we have provided in-home services to patients with COVID-19. Fortunately, we've been able to purchase sufficient protective equipment, gowns, gloves, masks, and shields, but that remains to be a challenge. Additionally, since the very beginning of the pandemic, we have contracted with the state of New Hampshire to test people for coronavirus in their homes if they're not medically able to get to a test center. Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice is also an active participant in the local emergency preparedness and public health efforts. We're currently working with both groups in the near future as the vaccine becomes available to participate in that distribution of that. Central New Hampshire VNA Hospice appreciates the many years of support from the town of Wolfeboro and the opportunity again to make this request before your committee.
Thank you. Any questions for Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice? Yes, sir.
Did I understand you to say that you provide visiting nursing services for those that have adequate insurance?
For those that do not have adequate insurance.
Those that do not have adequate.
That's correct.
Thank you.
We provide for those that do have insurance too, but also, in that amount of charity uncompensated care is a good portion of that is those that don't have sufficient insurance or any insurance. In short, the agency provides services to anyone regardless of their ability to pay. The only time we're not able to provide services is if we have a staff shortage.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. I'm looking over your balance sheets, and am I reading this correctly that you have in net assets in 2020, $13,738,638? Is that correct?
That is correct.
You're cash rich, it seems like. It just seems like that's an incredible balance sheet to have.
On the financial statements under note 2, is an explanation of how those funds are designated by the board for future use.
I'm just reading the...
Of that, about $9.5 million is investments, yes.
And I'm seeing net assets without donor restrictions, so you get $13,000,005. I don't know, it's amazing to me that you're that cash rich, that's all.
Yeah, those funds are designated by the board every year. The most recent year had designated operating a reserve of $2.8 million, IT projects of $560,000, strategic mission of $950,000, workforce development of $500,000, mission enhancement of $400,000, community initiatives of $500,000, and building capital fund of $600,000. as well as there's a contribution to our operating budget that works more or less like an endowment of $3.2 million. So those how those funds are designated for future use if needed.
Okay, any other questions for V&A Hospice? Seeing none, hearing none. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate the work you folks do for the community.
Thank you as well.
Okay. How about someone from Meals on Wheels? Meals on Wheels for $7,500. Anyone from Meals on Wheels? What would you members like to do with Meals on Wheels?
Mr. Burt, what's our 5-year average, please?
$7,800.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that we fund this level funded as we have the past 3 years on our Muni Smart sheets for $7,500.
Second.
7,500?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, the motion is to level fund at $7,500. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Planch?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Tom Bell?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
And myself votes yes. Motion carries. Okay, now, Mr. Town Manager, is that everybody?
That takes care of all the agencies, Mr. Chairman.
No one out there from another agency that I haven't heard from them? Okay. We'll move on and start on the, what we've got left in the water department. Water and sewer, I guess, and solid waste.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure. I don't think we covered the technology budget. Is that on
Is
the
that
agenda
on the
for
agenda
this
for
week?
this week?
No?
No?
Okay.
No,
No, I mean, that was the other night, but we still got a lot of work to do tonight relative to water, sewer, and the Libby Museum. So if we can get through the remainder of Public Works and the Libby, that's probably pretty much going to be.
Okay, I was just checking. I just want to make sure. No problem.
We can take care of that during general government.
We need to review water and sewer and the capital outlays. Correct? The water and sewer budgets we need to review and the capital outlay requests.
And solid waste.
And what?
Solid waste. We did not finish solid waste the other night.
No, we have not.
Okay, so we should be starting, what's the next tab? Solid waste disposal? Is that the next one that you have, Leanne? Or did we do DPW buildings and grounds? Yes, we did.
I think we did everything.
So we'll be solid waste then, according to my records here. Okay, let's start at the 100 series on solid waste. 200 series. Series. Mr. Town Manager, outside services, that increases due to the increase in tipping fees.
Yeah, I believe that is correct. Dave can probably speak to it, but I believe this is relative to the new contract.
Yes, well, we went out for a 5-year bid, so we...
Mr. Town Manager, outside services, that increases.
The prices resulting in the waste management leaving and Casella coming back in. They were with us 6 years ago and did a good job, so we're back with Casella on these bids, and we're kind of pretty much locked into them. We have a contract for 5 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
400. $500. 600.
You have a question on 630 of maintenance supplies. Big jump in maintenance supplies, is that in conjunction with your intending to do more painting of the building under building maintenance 435?
What item was it, 630 or 435?
That question was on line 630, which is a big increase in your supply request. I'm wondering if that is in any relation to the big increase on line 435, building maintenance, where you're going to paint the upper building as.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I answer the question. So the answer is no, they're not related. The increase in 630 is for rebuilding a major wall that separates the down where the glass is, the glass box. So Adam's got a project there, a significant amount of lumber to rebuild. So it's rebuilding some of the infrastructure and the supplies. And the outside services, basically we're looking at a door, a new door, and then a painting of the upper building, which are all 3 separate projects.
Thanks.
What's the increase in the household hazardous waste? It's up 13, almost 14%. Line 491.
So you should have a detail sheet for household hazardous waste. Do you know if that's in the budget? Do you have that breakdown?
I'm sorry,
I'm
Dave.
sorry,
I don't have it yet. I just have the salaries and that's it.
That's on me, Mr. Chairman. I'll be sure you get that. But that is relative to the current contract, which was recently negotiated through household hazardous waste, but I will get you that breakout sheet.
Don't we get some money from other towns? Or isn't it, I thought there was some kind of grant money or some kind of income from that for the hazardous materials.
Sarah Silk, we kind of subbed that out. She does a great job, and I can guess, but I really don't know the answers to the questions. I really would have to speak to it. Yeah, there is a sharing, and there's an amount of collections, dates they do. There's a lot to what she's doing, but I don't have the details, sorry.
Okay. You'll find out some stuff for us?
Yeah, I'll get that information for you, and I'll make it available tomorrow, sir.
Okay, 500, 600.
Yeah, I got a question on line 680, safety equipment. Just
Looking at
2019 approved and spent. Let's look at 2020 approved budget, and what you've expended so far, and which is way less than the 3,100. But yet we still want an increase of 42% up to $4,400. I'm just wondering where's that coming from?
A good question. So we normally are gearing up for winter operations, and so the guys that are, the rest of this line item will be spent with winter clothing. It's pretty rugged out there. The additional, most of the increase, $1,200, is a result of, this is where we put a pant allowance. So we went away from the uniforms, and this is now a pant allowance. So this is where we put that item, and that's the, so the major part of the increases is for that. This is stipend now that we're putting supply in, and they responsible for washing, taking care of it. Each guy gets so many pair per year.
I should know what PT boots and FT boots stand for. Can you tell me what?
Yeah, well, one's for the full-timers, that's a union, they get the $250, and the part-timers who only work in the summer months, they get a less, allowance, $125.
And they get one pair per year?
We don't, some guys like to buy the cheaper ones, they get 2 pair cheaper ones, some guys get the more expensive ones, so we don't dictate, they just have an allowance, and they have to supply their invoices. You get reimbursed.
John, the 5-year average on this is about $2,000.
On what's that, John? On safety equipment? On safety equipment? Line 680?
Yes.
Did you want to make a motion, John, concerning that?
I'd like to get a better explanation of why it went up 50%.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Again, I guess maybe it wasn't clear. So this is an item, and the 5-year average may not be a good indicator here because we've been putting more items in here. So this year, we have put in here the pan allowance, which is $300 times 4 people. That's their clothing allowance, so that's the $1,200. So that's the most of the increase is resulting from that. The other stuff is boots, which are safety boots, and they have an allowance of the union guys, the 5 full-timers, and then the part-timers have half that allowance. Then we have the winter coats and cover-ups, which are just being ordered now, which is why, again, the indication is a little low. In the past years, not all these items were in this budget, so it may not be a good reflection. And again, I would, so I hope that you don't cut the budget. And this is for safety equipment. There are other items which I would prefer you not to cut this one.
So we haven't done, I guess my question would be, we haven't provided these articles as much in the past. Am I correct in that?
So in the past, under rentals and leases, we had uniforms there. So the uniform line item there was taken out, and now we have reimbursements on the safety equipment. Over the years, we've been providing better equipment in shirts and sweatshirts, safety vests. And again, the boot and pant allowance, the boot allowances has been there. That was union and increased, I think, from a certain amount. But so this is, and again, gloves and safety, that's the glasses that the guys have to wear. Those are disposable, so they have to get thrown away.
So what you're telling me then is a lot of this is mandated by negotiation?
Some of it is, yeah, the booths and the pan allowance is, the safety is our program, so we provide all safety equipment. And then, you know, that's, so yeah, all, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, 700 series.
Line 740.
Okay.
Dave, is that a one-shot deal, those two containers and compactors?
This is, yes, we've had, if you've been up there, we have a lot of these containers. We own some and they swap out and they get beat up pretty bad. So we've been putting off, we've been trying to do repairs. The last couple of items we've had repairs. So Adam would like to replace one of the 40-yard open-top containers. Those are the ones we use for construction debris, metals. And then a 40-yard compacted container. Those, we have a couple of those boxes that have to be swapped out. So we've done our best to try to keep them welded together. We feel now it's time to go out and get two new ones. So these are one-time capital expenses.
Just a quick
next year? Sorry.
Further question, Dave. What's, you know, I know this, it's a bad word to use, but what's the useful life of these things?
Normally you would say 20 years if you, and these, here's we're going to be replacing them well over 20 years. They've been, again, welded to the point where they're feeling it's no longer safe to use them, and some of the haulers are saying, hey, you got to get, stop replacing these. So I can get you an inventory on what we have, and this is not covered by, because it's not within the cap reserve fund, where we have the bigger pieces of equipment, the compactors, the balers. This is not included in that, that's why it's here.
I would. Is this something that maybe we ought to be considering in terms of capital reserve? Because if it's a returning expense, maybe it should be.
That's a good point. Right now, we have a rather large equipment list there. So we can think about that, but right now this is where it is.
Okay, that's just food for thought. Thank you.
John, this is John Burt. I really think these items should be in the capital budget somehow. Not as a, if they're good for 20 years, it doesn't put in an annual operating budget. And I'd like to see it either using capital reserve money or put it in where that part of the budget, which is in the bottom of the budget. Thank you.
Mr. Tom, the cap reserve, isn't it? Anything over $10,000? Am I nothing on that?
I believe that is correct.
So you couldn't combine these two for 17,000 in individual items?
Could you repeat that statement, please?
Could you, if $10,000, each one of these, one is 8,000, one is 9,000. So those wouldn't fall under capital reserve because they're under the 10,000?
Yeah, but the problem with the capital reserve is that that money is already very much allocated to equipment, rolling stock, which is very tight at this point, the way that the budget is operating. If you want, I guess we could break this out as a capital outlay request, but that's your discretion as to how you'd like to see it.
Well, I guess I'd like to ask David a question, if I could. David, which one of these two things is more important that you could put off another year buying the other one?
Before I answer, I just want to get, under this line item 700 series, it is for capital items in the budget that are above a certain amount. So this is where it belongs under the guidelines, under the 10,000. 10,000 to a 10 would be the, unless we incorporate it into the capital reserve fund. But you'd be right. Right now, I'd have to increase that by a lot to make it work if we want to buy it next year. Your question about if we wanted to split, which one was more important? It is the compactor, so that's the $9,000 item. So if we had to delay, we could probably, again, I wouldn't be happy, but if we had to delay, the more important one is the compactor, the $9,000 item.
Well, we're just trying to, anything that we can put off for a year, the people would like to get kind of adjusted to what the tax rate's gonna be, and we're trying to, at least I'm kind of concerned, I'm sure my other members are, I won't speak for them, know about this whole COVID situation. If we could save buying one of those for another year, try to get another year out of the one up there, that would be great if you think you could do that.
Well, and I think a good question was asked earlier. I can give you the inventory of this, so this might work better because it might be a reoccurring now that we're starting to replace, because we have more than 2 containers. So if we replace this compactor this year, next year we go with one of the open tops, and then I'm sure 3 years from now we'll be looking at others. So this will be the line item unless we make a financial decision. We can talk that with Kathy and the finance, but so I would agree with that if we could limit the cut to just the 8,000.
Okay, so you have no issue if we drop that down to buying the one compactor, the motion for that?
I didn't say I have an issue, I said if you were limited to that, so yes.
I didn't hear.
We would survive.
I'm sorry.
If that was a discretion, Dave would be satisfied with being able to get the compactor container, and we'll just have to continue making repairs to the open top container for the year.
Is there any motions to do that? Anyone want to make a motion?
I think I understand. I'll make a motion to reduce line 740 to $9,000, which covers the compactor container.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Is that you, Steve?
Yes.
Any discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. The motion is to reduce line, I gotta go back a page.
740.
740.
Line 740 to $9,000. Okay, Bob Tuffer.
Yes.
Bob Lohman.
Yes.
Steve Johnson.
Yes.
Matt Planch.
Yes.
Bob Mulholland.
Yes.
Tom Bell.
Yes.
John Burt.
Yes.
Brian Black.
Yep.
And I vote yes also. The motion passes 9-0. Okay, 800 series. That's it on solid waste. Okay, let's go to sewage collection. I just had a question for the town manager. On the retirement, do you know when that law goes into effect?
That increase?
Yeah.
It goes into effect July 1 of 2021.
Okay, so the retirement figures we have show the increase from January to July, then from July to the end of the year or whatever.
Yeah, it's broken down January 1, 2021 through June 30, 2021 at 11.17, and then from July 1 through December 31 is at 1406.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, sewer fund, 100 series.
Yeah, I just got a question on over, never mind, sorry, I missed it. I'm good, thanks.
I'm sorry, Steve, did you have a question?
Nope.
Yes, 200 series. 300 series. Series. $600 series. $700 series.
Yeah, I'm just curious on 740. I'm looking at what we approved in 2019, which was 13,000. We approved 22 in 20, and now we expended 23, and now is it just because we replaced what was necessary and now we are good for another little bit and we don't have to spend that much this year?
No, that's probably not accurate. We were trying to cut the budget where we could, so delaying maintenance on some of these, all these pump stations. We have 9 sewer pump stations, 2 major ones, and the 2 major ones are going to be coming from big overhaul. So on the CIP, we'll be looking at 100,000 for design, rehab of those 2, construction beginning in 2022. So we're kind of cutting back. These are the other 7 smaller stations where these particular areas. And last year we had a big expense on Clark Road that's being completed now. So we took the reduction this year. I would not be surprised to see that it'll go back up next year, or we will propose it to be incorporated in one major capital project where a lot of our pump stations were built in the 90s, and they're while the pumps in Ware Place, these pieces are going well. Bigger pieces of the station, like the concrete and some of the control elements, are looking at. So we're going to be, we just went through our RFQ process, hired a new engineer. We're going to be doing evaluation, coming up with a plan on that. So this year, it is reduction because we slowed down this year, but it's not an indication that we're caught up all the way because we still have more work to do.
Thanks.
700 series. 800. That's it on sewer collection. Go to wastewater distribution. $400 series.
I'm sorry, John. What, excuse me, where are you?
Wastewater treatment, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
$400, $500, $900, Mr. Town Manager, why did the debt service principal go down 75,000?
Dave can probably answer that better than I can, but I'm assuming that we paid off a bond, and that is the result of the payoff of the bond, and you'll see as well, there's a reduction in interest.
We have 4 different bonds in this budget, and they all have different retirement schedules. Some have fixed interest or fixed principal with varying interest. But this one here looks like that square number was one that was paid off last year. We had 5 last year, so this is when you look at the debt schedule, you can see where they are retiring. Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's it on that one. Now let's go to distribution. $100 series. David, why such a big drop in the hourly wages? That's the reorganization?
That's part of the reorganization and the foreman position being promoted to a superintendent and leaving that foreman position vacant for the time being.
$200 series. $300 series. What's the big plan for consultants on 311?
We are in need of the implementation of the asset management plan, and we're still using outside services to help us with that, consultants. We're doing hydraulic modeling of our system as we are looking at the long-term plan. We're replacing water mains and looking at the different parts of the system. And also this year, we have a risk assessment, that's a new EPA requirement, and we're actually started working on it already this year, so we've already started, this will now be the second year, and making sure we're meeting all the state and federal requirements. The money that looks like it's not spent, unfortunately, it is all in purchase orders that's sitting in the desk, so that was partly my fault for not getting these done earlier. Partly a little concern about some of the other projects that were going on, and we did have some issues within the budget, so we are going to be a little over budget on the water treatment plant side, so we were slowing down the spending on the distribution side as we got towards the end of the year. But I'll be meeting with the town manager and finance director on those POs, so I do anticipate that money to be all encumbered before the end of the month.
John, can you tell me what the 5-year average is for that, for 311?
One moment.
I'm sorry?
One moment.
Okay.
$7,311. $7,101.
I do a motion to reduce that line to $12,000.
To 12?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? The reason I made the motion is based on the 5-year average, and again, I'm just going with this for October 2nd. They were given $10,000. It doesn't show you that any's been spent. 2019, they were given $15,000 and only spent $3,300. Again, I think it's a year that we should be looking to do some savings. Not that every year is important, but in particular this year where we can cut certain things that aren't going to dramatically change the condition of the town. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to reduce line 311 consultants to $12,000. This will be a roll call vote. Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Planch?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Tom Bell,
Yes.
John Burt,
Yes.
Brian Black,
Yes.
and I vote yes also. Motion passes 9-0. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
we're still on the 300 series,
Yes, sir.
line 380. Question for Dave. This line, and I think there was another line on outside services, and one of the items in the outside services is traffic control for working on state roads. Who are we paying to do that? And I guess my question is, why aren't we using our own police department to do that?
We have gone away from using the police, and we pay traffic control professionals. If we do use police, we have to pay for them. So if we use the local police, then we have to pay them the detail. And when we did some of the bigger projects on the state roads, we will call them in. But it's not really, it's usually other cops from other towns that come in. You know, it all depends on their schedule. So they don't give us a discount for doing town projects. Unless it's an emergency, obviously if it's an emergency, we're just out there, but in terms of the projects where we gotta, dig along the road for a day or so, we'll get the traffic control people, that's what they do.
Okay,
thank you.
I guess I've got a question for the town manager. 382 for the administrative cost allocation. Why is that going down so much?
So I took the administrative cost allocation methodology that was adopted last year, punched those numbers into the formula, and this is what came out for a number. If you recall, and I talked pretty heavily with Bob Lohman on this topic, one of the tricky parts of this particular methodology with the administrative cost allocations is the way the technology is broken out. It was broken out per device, per everything, and it was very convoluted. So we kept the numbers the same relative to technology, but we simply utilized the numbers as programmed into the budget. And this is what we came up with, was across the board a reduction in the administrative cost allocations.
Okay, so the Board of Selectmen they cut it based on some new numbers?
So what ended up happening is when we did the town manager's budget, we simply rolled over the department request, which was the equivalent of the 2020 approved budget. And then once I got to the point of being able to punch the numbers into the administrative allocations, this is what came out for the Board of Selectmen's consumption.
On the other side of the coin, this would be show as a revenue.
This would be a revenue in the general fund, correct?
Mr. Chairman?
This is an issue that I believe, based on the way that the technology budget is allocated in this, as we get time going into 2021, we're going to have to revisit the way that technology portion is calculated.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
John, in total across all of the departments that have administrative allocations just for educational purposes of $71,000 negative hit on the budget.
Drop in revenues.
In total. Across the electric, water, sewer, and pop oil, and the administrative cost allocation calculations, as Jim outlined, and resulting in a $71,000 reduction in the budget.
Okay. Thank you. 400. $500. 600. $700. $800.
Yeah, I got an 820 professional development, just looking at the history, 1,500 budget, 1,500 expended, 2019, 2020, 3,200 budget, 1,500 expended. That may have gone up since this was printed, but yet we're raising it again to another $345. Not much, I mean, is that, is 36 necessary? Is 32 a better way to go? 3260, which would be level funding. Just an open question.
Sure, I can answer. Right now, we are training a young operator. We're sending him to school to get his associate's degree, so we have an increased cost there for this individual to get his chief operator. He has to get a grade 3 license. Before you get a grade 3 license, he has to have the equivalent of an associate's degree. So we have been increasing that. The money that has been encumbered or spent already, he gets reimbursed as he passes the classes. So he has one more semester to go next year. So this is money well invested in a specific person who's going for a higher education, in addition to all the operators are required to take certain certifications. So this is a line item I really would hope we could preserve.
Yeah, and I would echo what Dave's saying on this. We've got a young man who has really dedicated himself to going and getting these certifications. These certifications are of critical importance for this system to continue to operate. So this is a line based on the commitment that this individual has made to the town that I'm supportive with Dave on this, that we really need to keep that particular line.
So we're paying for him to go to college?
We're working with him to complete a college education so that we can maintain the licensures required to operate the system, because you have to have that associate's degree in order to obtain the license.
Okay, knowing that, when you interview someone, does the job spec say that you have to have an associate's degree?
I can answer that. The job calls for a grade 3 license. You have to have an associate's degree or higher, or equivalent of experience or certifications. He is not getting an associate's degree. He's getting a certificate. He's going specifically for water and sewer treatment. So it's a specialized course up in Berlin or the White Mountain Community College. That the program, unfortunately, is ending now because of, I can't imagine why. We're, in the future, we are not going to have qualified people, because it's an industry where we're not replacing people. So we are growing our own people. If I were to go out and try to hire someone with this certification, there's no way possible within the union contract that we could pay something like that. So it's a real problem for us. And this individual has been made aware that he is kind of bound to us. So if he were to say, oh, I got a better job, he's committed to paying that back. So we do have him committed for a period here. And again, he's a real, I think it's a good investment for us. And that's the only way we're going to be able to keep these positions filled at the current salary scale we have.
Okay, thank you. 700 series, 800 series. Okay, let's finish up with a treatment plant. $100 series. What's the new title of employee that makes $73,705? What's the title going to be? I won't say what the employee's name is.
Superintendent of Water Distribution, water treatment.
Okay. And then
The second employee, what's the new title?
Director or something?
Assistant Director of Water Sewer Department.
Okay, 100 series, any questions on that? 200 series? $300 series? John, can I get the 5-year average on 311? Consultants.
2,800. 2,800.
Thank you. Make a motion to reduce that line to $3,000.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to reduce line 311 from $5,000 to $3,000. Bob Tuffer.
Yes.
Bob Lohman.
Yes.
Steve Johnson.
Yes.
Matt Planch.
Yes.
Bob Holland.
Yes.
Tom Bell.
Yes.
John Burr.
Yes.
Brian Black.
Yes.
And John McDonald votes yes also. Passes 9-0. Okay,
Are we still in 300s?
Yeah.
So in each of the budgets that I've looked at, the telephone this year is up a lot. And I'm just curious, looking at my own phone bills, business and personal, I don't see any jumps unless I'm adding something. So are you adding something to the phones? Are you giving out more cell phones? How come we, I mean, is the more realistic figure the actual spent in 2019, which was 2,600? And that's why have we underfunded it each, for like in 2019 and 2020? And that's why maybe the more appropriate is the 2,700. Is that kind of what we're looking at, Dave?
Steve, those are all excellent questions. I can tell you that I'm more frustrated than anyone here because I have multiple budgets with the phone, and I really can't give you a good answer. We have 3 ways. We have a cell phone stipend. We have cell phones that are owned by the town that we pay the fee for. And then we have hardlines. In some areas, we have other internet connections and other things. Scott Pike put together the budget based on the directions we received. The only thing that's increased would be the stipends on the cell phones. So we're now saying that would include the assistant director, the superintendent, the chief operator, and Randy, the first operator.
And the stipend is a less expensive way to go than having the town just give out cell phones?
We started with the giving out the cell phones, and the problem there became if someone had a personal cell phone and then a business cell phone, carrying two cell phones became awkward, and so as people who have their own cell phone now, we said we're getting away with, as the older town phones get, no longer usable, they get old, and no longer working, they are phasing out, and we only have a few of those guys who don't have their own cell phone still use the town-owned phone. So we are going all towards stipends right now.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Ed.
$600, $500, and $600. $700. David, where's the conference, the Waterworks conference this year? And when is it?
In 2020, all conferences were canceled, everything is virtual. So this year, there was no national conference. So this money, again, was, I think this is where we use maybe some of the money this year to fund some of the education for Josh. But so this year, when there was no travel or national conference.
You know where it's going to be and when it is?
The American Waterworks funds, I get tuned of, there's four of them that wastewater, public works, civil engineering, and American Waterworks. So there's four national conferences a year, so I would look around. This one here is when Scott would normally go to. Again, next year, we're not sure. Right now, the conferences in the first quarter are all being canceled. So this is a line item that if we wanted to remove, I wouldn't have much heartburn because we may not be spending it because we do a lot of the online learning. And those costs are much less than obviously when you have to travel and go to the big conferences.
Any motions concern line item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. 900 series. And that's it for water. What else do we have, Mr. Town Manager, on this? Anything in the sewer fund?
I believe Dave has 3 capital outlay items related to the water department.
I don't imagine those were probably on the other night.
They should have been in with the package. I believe it's a sheet that outlines what the repairs are and the backup sheet as well.
Mr. Town Manager? Question. The three that we're talking about, one of them is on the relative east of the MED building. That's one. I just want to make sure I got it.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you, Bob.
The water distribution system has a separate pressure zone east of the MED building. That begins one of them.
Yep.
The next one is the 200 seasonal water customers. And the third one is the town has over
Has over 2,200 water customers.
I believe that is.
Water's based on meters?
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
those are the three.
Thanks.
And this request is level with what Dave has been doing over the past several years, correct, Dave?
Yeah, if I could speak to the issue, when we developed the asset management plan, we identified $100 million of assets that needed to get replaced or upgraded over the next 100 years. When we discussed that plan, we were trying to delay any major upgrades or bonds because we have such high debt service. And we're hoping to let that debt service drop off in the next couple of years and build up the capital reserve fund. But also understanding that there are a lot of items in the asset management plan that fall behind between the $10,000 and the $100,000 item. We want to continue using this capital outlay to fund those in-between projects, keep things going. So the residential water meter program is one that's ongoing and trying to replace 100 meters a year and trying to keep up with that. So that's every year, and we've been kind of funding that. And our crews, we buy the meters, our crews do those replacements. The seasonal water line upgrades is a real problem for us. We don't have a lot of customers. It's about 10%, 220 of our customers are seasonal, over 2,000 are year-round. And this has been identified in our DES environmental survey as one of our weak points in our system. We've been kind of putting this off. This is something that really needs to be addressed. So this year we started working on it. We're still working on it now. And this would be the next phase of that in terms of investing more money towards developing a master plan. And what we're looking at doing is in certain areas, there is a scale of economy, that we might have enough houses that we can justify putting in year-round water and offering it to those. Other areas, we have way too much, thousands of feet of line with only a few customers, and you just can't justify. So we want to be able to reach out to the customers, give them, tell them what the facts are, give them options, whether or not they would be discontinued, whether they would be able to drill a well, or whether they would go into the lake. Most of these are lakefront properties. A lot of our lakefront properties do take water from the lake, and there are now point-of-use treatment systems that can be done. So this is kind of a big item, but it has big implications, so it's going to take us some time, and this is, again, that commitment to continue that program. The last one is on the Middleton Road, which we talked about. That is a separate pressure zone. It's fed off the South Main water tank. And at the MED building complex, there's a booster station. It was designed and installed back in the 90s and was over-designed. And it's kind of been, the water flow never developed its full potential. But it's now, it's an asset that's getting at the end of its useful life. And estimates we had from consultants were really extreme, and we just couldn't justify that kind of investment. So we're trying to work in-house. This is a project, again, with Scott Pike and myself, trying to figure out how we can best upgrade this station without paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is our first phase. We started working on it this year, and we think we got some good ideas that we can get this done. So we'll be some limited engineering and pricing, and potentially the upgrade will continue into 2022.
I have a couple of questions on that one you just talked about, Dave, on that water distribution center and having us do it in-house. You know, putting out for bid, so to speak. I appreciate and understand the cost saving, but I'm wondering, so on the $70,000, is that materials? Is that part of that money going to pay our staff that are already employed by us? That's going to be part of that. I mean, it's hard for me to get when we have regular, normal job descriptions. that they have their regular tasks to do, and then we're asking them to do this. How do we delineate between that, especially when we have a running budget for the normal operations of what you do on a regular weekly basis, and then we add this to it. So while I like the idea of having, keeping the cost lower by doing it in-house, I also wonder about how that kind of comes together from a budgetary standpoint to understand how that works. I mean, do we, when they work on a particular site, does that money come from, does that money to pay them come from this kind of, like, help me understand why that's a better way to go.
Sure. No, we do not bill out our services. So if Dave Ford works on this plan, I do not bill them out at whatever it is an hour. When Scott Pike works on this system, he doesn't bill the project. All our cost is overhead. It's in 100 and 200 series. I would love to give anyone on the board here a tour of the water treatment plant. We can show you numerous projects in which we have done this type of project, in which we use good old Yankee ingenuity in engineering. I'm a professional engineer. I don't do anything that doesn't qualify as good engineering. Sometimes I will go outside and ask, here I'm looking for some engineering consultants, but at 7,500, that's a drop in the bucket. When the proposal I got, which I rejected on this, it was, $100,000, and it gets crazy with engineers. So I in my 14 years here, Scott Pike and I have a goal of every year making sure that we save the town more than our salary. And I can tell you that between both of us, we've done that through these types of projects. And it's kind of a, how can I justify that? We would actually have to put this project up to bid, give you an engineer, let that all happen, spend a lot of money, and then I can say, okay, see how I can do it cheaper. I think if you look at our record, if you look around town, all the different projects, whether it's a Parks and Rec project like we did the Force Field Pavilion, we do put sweat equity in. So that is a question, and that is what, it's really helped the town over 14 years, but now we're at a point where we're saying, okay, now we're going to slow down. Part of the plan would be the efforts of Dave and Scott would go to the water department and the sewer department. So yes, the intent would be to continue on design build projects using in-house expertise to lower our capital costs for these needed upgrades. We were not working on the road projects, the Parks and Rec projects, the other projects. That's in this reorganization. The new public works director would take over. There'd be less design build going on. There'd be more standard guys going out to bid, and more focus on the maintenance, which is we're acknowledging now as we have been pushing capital. So the question is, if we're doing this project, are we not doing maintenance? And that's something that we have to balance, and we do. That's why we don't pick too many projects. We try to take the critical ones where we think we can bring the most value. Does that answer your question?
It does. Just a follow-up question on that. And we have it as a warrant article because it's over 10,000, even though realistically it's basically going to be part of your budget because it's not necessarily contracted out to anybody. It's all going to be done in-house. So I'm not sure where I'm going with the question.
To help you out a little bit though, so we might contract some services out. Say we have a specialty, I might have to bring an electrician in. So definitely any electrical work, we'll have a local electrician we work with. If there is some welding or certain things that we can't do. So I'm not saying, but we'll act more as a general contractor and not charging that. This budget you see here, which I had estimated 75 for engineering, up to 70,000. Most of that is in buying materials and potentially subcontracting out the electrical work, things that we're not certified to do.
That helps me. One thing that would help me too, and I don't know if it would make any difference to any of the other board members, is when you do a project like this, if you have talked to someone or some people, contractors, architects, engineers, people that would do something like this, if we could just get an idea of what they're charging. I mean, we have you telling us that it would be hundreds of, 150 or whatever, but if we had some some kind of correspondence from them saying, this is what we charge for this. I know it's time consuming for you and maybe we don't want to do it that way, but that would certainly help it to be like, it's like when something goes on sale in a store, if you can see the before price and then the sale price, you see the benefit. Does that make sense to you?
It's a makes sense question, but it's not a question that can be answered because you would have to do exactly that. You have to actually put the job out to bid because, and then you have to spend the engineering. So we spend the $70,000 engineering up front, put it out to bid, and then see the price come in at $350,000 versus us taking calculated risk, engineering experience, not having to worry about covering the butt all the time and having lawyers write all these contracts. When we get down to what we have done, we are saving the town money at different levels. Now, is there risk there? There certainly is risk there. And that's why it can't go on. You're not going to find a guy like Scott Pike in day 4 that can go on. So I think your question is good, and I think we deserve to have the documentation on these projects to show you what we did do, and then an estimate of what it would cost. But you really don't know until you actually put it out to bid. The one example we will have, and we do have a bid opening next week, is on Stone Road. So we have the road reconstruction, which is going to be very similar to what we have done on the highway side. So I think that's going to help us get an idea of where we would go against outside bid. And clearly, it is, we have manpower, and we have equipment, and we have trucks. We're geared for maintenance, but we also can take care of this capital. When I got here 14 years ago, the town would never, ever undertake any of these type of projects. We were strictly, we got a problem, someone help us. We got to the point where we had a leak, we didn't know what valve to shut off. So we've come a long way on the water and the sewer systems, but we still have a long ways to go because we have infrastructure that's been here for over 100 years. It's continuing to fall down. We have used the good old Yankee duct tape, baling wire. I got a case of it. That's how we keep a lot of things together. But we always prioritize. We try to make sure our guys are safe. We try to be compliant, and then we try to be, efficient. And again, that's our process going forward. The reorganization kind of follows from that. We're seeing now that I'm very concerned about that model going forward. So we do have to stop doing this, or we can focus my attention and Scott's on this, where Scott would be more focused on the water, I would be more focused on the sewer. We have these major asset management plans that we've developed now. We want to implement them, which means we have to have someone there. But if we hand it over to a consultant, like we did in 2005, we hired Wright Pierce. We said, hey, we trust you, take care of us. We didn't have an educated, we weren't an educated client. They got out there in front of us. They thought they had the gold mine. They sold the selectmen on this. Before they were going to, we had a $12 million sewer plant and then 2 sewer pump stations for $3 million. It's $15.
Shot, my friend. We're going to move on to something else.
Sorry.
Appreciate it.
I do have one quick question for David.
Go ahead.
Talking about the water meters and lost revenue, can you give me a number on what the current water loss percentage is on an overall basis in town?
I can give you an approximate, not an exact number, because we will do is as we close out the year, we'll be looking at the total amount of revenue that we sold, gallons sold versus gallons produced. Then we have to add in how much we wasted for flushing and how much we wasted for bleeds. When we come around to it, we're still at an unacceptable level. We're probably in the 20 to 22% range. We'd like to be down around 15%. We still have a lot of old pipes in our system, over 2.5 miles of old pipes. And so we are very concerned about that. We are continuing looking, although we have cut the consumption down dramatically by our rates going up, so people are using less. We used to use 660,000 gallons a day on an average back in 2005. We're down to 440. As a result, this summer, when most communities were in droughts and you could not use the water, we had water. Our reservoir's down a little bit low, but it's now recovering greatly. So we've come a long way from those days.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we also have water and sewer.
Question, do we don't vote on these individually?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. By chance, is there anybody from the Libby Museum here?
I'm going to speak on behalf of the Libby this evening.
You are going to? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, David.
If you're not aware, the Libby Museum had an abbreviated year this year. due to COVID. So a lot of the numbers you will see are not expended funds as a result of that. The other thing which has occurred is our previous director has left, so we've brought on a new director, a young lady from town. She's worked at the Libby Museum a couple years with Ms. Albee, and she's actually done a very good job working in the museum and getting it up to par. With that said, Mr. Chairman, our budget's fairly level with some changes relative to cleaning associated with COVID if we do open next year. So with that said, I'll try to answer any questions you may have relative to the budget.
Okay, we'll go through the budget here. 100 series.
Line 117, part-time wages. Who does the part-time wages? What are we talking about here?
So this is, you mean who calculates them?
No,
or
I mean what function, what people, what are the, what?
Yeah, these are staff members that work at the Libby Museum. It's laid out a certain number of days for a certain period of time so that we can maintain flow. Additionally, you'll see that there is a small increase in here for COVID-related cleaning.
Okay, I understand that, but are these part-time wages, are these people like ticket takers and people that guide people around the museum?
Yep.
I have a question as to why the Friends of the Libby aren't supplying that labor, as a lot of other museums do?
I guess that's a very fair question, and I guess my answer to this is going to be horrible, but this is the way we've always done it.
That's what I figured.
Thank you.
200 series. 300 series. 400 series. 500 series.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Line 435, building maintenance.
Okay.
We had a capital reserve established for that sort of business, and I'm just wondering why we've got this building maintenance line of $3,750. Shouldn't that be coming out of the capital reserve?
So this is essentially day-to-day maintenance associated with the building. You know, I would have to look at the language associated with the capital reserve fund to see, you know, if we have a broken door or something along those lines, would that capital reserve fund language authorize us to utilize those funds? I would have to look at that, sir.
I'd appreciate a little investigation if you could, please.
Will do.
Thank you.
500 series. 600. 800. And next is for Libby. We've covered everything that we've had scheduled for tonight. I just got a couple of things here. Did everyone get a copy of Selectman Linda Murray's letter?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not going to read that, but I'm going to ask our secretary to make that part of our minutes for tonight. Do you have a copy of Selectman Linda Murray's letter that she sent to us? You have one at home or in the file? Can you just put that as, attach it to the minutes for tonight? Yeah, include it in the minutes. Then if everyone wants to review it, it's going to be in the minutes. I've also had a request from several members to schedule another date to review certain sections of the highway department and probably some other department budgets. Does anyone have a problem with rescheduling or revisiting those particular line items? It's going to be on an open date. It'll be the highway department and probably several other, not several, a couple more other departments that we're going to relook at.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, in
Yeah.
relation to what lines?
What's that?
In relation to what lines in those various departments?
Could be any of the lines.
Okay, all right.
Could be any of the lines.
Just a general,
Yeah.
take another look.
Yeah. In particular, people have approached me and asked me about, members have asked me about the highway department. So, Leanne will schedule that if possible on one of our open dates.
So, John?
Yes.
John?
Yes, John.
We're gonna,
Yeah.
are we gonna discuss our issues with the reorganization tonight?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Are we going to discuss our issues with the reorganization tonight?
No, we're not.
No, we're not. We're going to discuss that on a revisit day.
John,
Yes,
quick comment on that. I would recommend everybody taking a good look at the dissertation of Mrs. Murray's on this subject and become knowledgeable of what's in the dissertation and what has been the experience over the last 15 or 20 years in the Public Works Department.
Okay, what I was going to do is pick a particular day on one of our open dates and revisit that particular budget and possibly a couple other budgets also. And we can address that issue if that works for everybody.
So we have one open date, January 7th, on the schedule.
Let me check with Leanne. Do you have anything in December? Just, yeah, or see what you can find that's available for a meeting. Something other than our regular schedule. That would be great. Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
I assume you mean an additional meeting.
Yeah, it won't be one that's, the way it looks, it's not going to be one that's on the particular schedule that we have right now.
All right, fine. That's good.
Okay, does anyone else have any other business? Anybody in the public still with us has any questions?
I have one idea, and want to broach it with the committee. Last year, we stood and pledged allegiance to the flag. This year, we haven't. I'd liked doing that last time. I would like to see if we could possibly do that again at the start of our meetings.
Okay, so noted. I'll start doing that again. I apologize.
No problem.
Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Tom Bell?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
And John McDonald votes yes also. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. What's left of